Let's make something beautiful today. So my husband's grandmother always wore these elements of earrings called jackets. Let me show you. I have her actual pieces that she wore all the time with little diamond studs, and these are jackets. They have little holes in them, and she could switch them out depending on she just wanted to wear a flower for the spring and the summer, or if she wanted to wear something like these little oak leaves for the fall. So sweet, and she could change out her look or what she wanted just by changing the jackets. But she would just wear her regular diamond studs. So here's another. These are just cheap old junk ones, but the same idea. There's a little hole right in these little hoops, and you can switch out the look. These are not hers. These, I think, are my daughter's. So I just wanted to introduce you to the idea of jackets and how you can use the same stud, that's what we're making today, and switch out what it looks like just by changing out the jacket. These are going to function just slightly different because they're going to be coming in from the backside of the ear. So we have something a little more simple. It's going to use a lighter gauge at most. Everybody's going to have. And then we're going to take it to the next level by upping the gauge and adding some beads to this jacket. So two fun little projects that are really essential. I mean, not everybody wants something dangling. These are definitely, you don't have to wear them together. So even if you're not interested in making these jackets, you can learn how to make a stud. I have some pearls on hand, and I'm going to show you how I reamed these and got these prepared. So we're going to make a little pearl. So after today, you're going to know how to make this little stud, this little petal jacket, and the cherry jacket. Let's get to it. Let me show you what you're going to need. You're really just going to need your basics. Obviously, your cutters and round nose, chain nose. For something, I always use my bail pliers. What did I use the bail pliers? Probably for the petals. I'll remember when I get to it. You're going to want to have some type of file on hand to clean up your edges. You might want a bead reamer on hand for this project, especially because we're going to be using 16 gauge for this, and not every bead's going to want to go on that, but we can tell it what to do. As always, I usually have a bench block and hammers on hand, and of course, you know you're going to need a ruler. Now, as for our wire that we're going to be using, for the cherries, I used 16 gauge. Not everybody has that, so I made sure to do something that used 20 gauge. 20 gauge is such a versatile gauge that's so useful for so many different things. So I kept it a little light. I kept it a little user-friendly, so you can use one type of wire for this whole stud and jacket. I think that's it. Let's go. Let's start by making this stud. I'm using bare copper that is dead soft, and so I always want to make sure I give it a nice wipe down. This strengthens just a little bit, plus cleans any tarnish that's off that happens to be on your wire. And for the stud, you need about 8 inches. Now, the very first thing I do for the stud is I take my bench block, I take my nylon hammer. This end is going to become the post, and before I even get started, I just want to hammer the heck out of it. Kind of roll it around, because believe it or not, if you hammer just on the one side continuously, you will end up flattening the wire if you hammer it really well. Now, I highly doubt it, but let me see if any of these pearls, let me flush cut first. Sometimes that will cause an issue if you go to put a bead on. I doubt it. Oh, what? Almost. This one wants to go on. So if you run into it, okay, so you see like the one side wants to go in, but it's not coming out on the other side. That's when you want to use a bead reamer. Wow. This is just a hand run. There's ones that are electrical and all that stuff, but this is just a hand powered reamer, and you can see that I've been using it because I still have the guts of other beads on there. And it's so simple. You just stick your bead on there, you give it a couple twists. This is like a rough sandy surface. Goes right in there and will clean up anything that's hanging up on the inside, which many are. I mean, I find it over and over again in all types of beads. So this is definitely something that you're going to want to keep in your toolbox. Let's see if this works now. See how that slipped right on there? Perfect. Now I don't need it on there right now. I just wanted to, let me move these out of the way. Move the ones out of the way that you're not going to use, because then they get all mixed up and you have no idea which one it was. Okay, so to start, round nose pliers, and just envision an area that you want to work with to become your post. All this is going to wrap around the bead. And so right at this point, we're just going to start bending around. This is just very simple. It's nothing fancy. And just wrapping around to make this loop. That's it. I'm going to transition over to my chain nose pliers. You know what? I think I've used these so much that they've become ultra slick on the inside. I mean, they just slip and slide. They didn't used to be like that. So I think I need to get a little bit more grungy pliers out for this. And what we're going to do is this wire here, this long wire, is going to start spiraling. If you look at the back ends of these, that's what it is, a spiral that is holding everything in. So once we got that, we're going to use the edge of this loop as kind of like the bail, kind of like these, and we're going to use that to start forming this coil. Just pressing right along. Just go nice and slow with small movements. I have to go under that post wire to keep making the coil. Now we're going to lift up that post in just a minute. I just find at the very beginning, it doesn't help. Just leave it flat for a minute as you start building the initial layers of this coil. And then we're going to bend it up in just a little bit. Because if it's sticking straight up, you can't just grab the whole coil, you know, the thing is in the way. But once you get a couple layers here, right about now, you can come in, just go to the left of the center of the whole coil here. Just to the right. I do know left from right, although my son doesn't. Oh, and just we're going to push this straight up to get it out of the way now so we can continue building this coil. We're going to go for 4 layers. See how now you can work it, it's out of the way, and you can just make these small movements building this coil until we've got 4 layers all around. Is that full? Yeah, that's 4. All right, here comes the fun part. We are going to pull this coil out to make the cup that's going to hold the bead. And I like to take some chain nose pliers and I grab this post wire and very gently, very gingerly with these 3 fingers, I'm surrounding this coil. And just going to very slowly and gently pull the coil out. I think that I'm going to stick with that just for the moment. And then I like to just go around with my fingernails and I'm just making everything even. We do want these openings because you'll see in a stage to come, that those are actually going to be a part of how this whole thing works. So at this point, now we've got to redirect this wire so we can get the bead on it and it'll make it sit down in this little cup. So I'm thinking, you see how the post is coming out on this side of the center area, but it also makes it closest to this side of the cup, right? This top, well, this is what is going to be the top in my mind. So we need to take chain nose pliers and we need to make a bend to redirect the wire through the center of this cup. And I'm kind of just very gingerly but firmly, I'm grabbing all this and I'm just making a turn of the wire until it sits center, and I'm looking at that hole that's run down in the middle. I'm looking at that hole that's at the bottom of the cup and trying to get it center over that. That's not, can I go a little more? I think. I can go just a little more. I think that is going to work. I really stress take small movements and go slow, because all it takes is wrenching the wire or you squeeze too hard and it's ruined. So go slow with tiny little movements. Oh my word, where'd this pearl go that I just had? Here it is. It got all lost in all the tools. Okay. This is going to slide right on because we reamed it out. Now once you get, it's going to hit that sidewall, right? And just very carefully, just lift up on that wire a little bit to make that pearl sit down in that cup that we made. And we can press things around. I've got this little bit of the wire sitting way out here. Now, if that doesn't bother you, don't worry about it. Just go on to the step after this. But I do take one little extra step with some, small chain nose pliers. I come in and I want to press, if I can get to it, press that down, squeeze that space out. Make it sit just a little closer to the bead. Just tightened up that bend a little bit. Ew, so adorable. All right, I've gone back through and I'm just kind of making sure things are even, because those gaps are going to become channels for the wire to go back through. So I'm just making sure I've got opening and it's even so that everything flows well together. Okay, so now you're asking, which way do I bend this wire? We want to bend this back around this way so that it slips right down in this gap here. It's just like a little gate. There's nothing, if you go the other way, there's nothing, right? There's nothing. So we need to come back around this way and it'll slide right into that little opening. Now this is a little tricky to get going because the bead's so little and everything is so little. Just try to get this bend going. I find that holding it kind of from underneath and on top with your thumb, it's still a little tricky, but you can kind of get that bend going. I'm going to get that bend going. Now you can see it's kind of bent out like that from the bead. So before I go any further, I'm going to press it down just like we did on the other side. And then continue on. Heading for that little channel opening there and pressing it down in there. Now we've got it in that gap, and this has become super easy. I might just press on that just a little bit, make sure it's down in there really well. And then I kind of hold with these in my left hand with these two fingers and my thumb, and just very slowly just feed it right into that gap. Small movements, going slow. And if it ever gets a little difficult or it doesn't want to go down in there, you can just gently press with your chain nose pliers. Just a little more gap to fill. And then we're going to trim this off. It's a little tricky to hold. You're going to discover that. And just wherever you see that it kind of looks good to trim. I went through some times where I kept going and I wrapped around the post. But I think just getting it as close as you can and then trimming and making it sit down in the gap kind of works best. Now you can keep it going if you want, or you can just press it down in one of these gaps and be done. Call it a day. I don't feel anything there, but you could always come back with a little file if there's anything happens to be sticking up. I don't feel that at all. It's just so smooth. And that's the little stud. And if there is anything that's kind of misshapen, very gently, I'm going to tell you the most gentle, tiny squeezes, because otherwise you squeeze too hard. It's messed up. There's a tiny gap there and I want to fix it, but I'm afraid if I do, I'll totally mess up the whole thing. I just press with my fingernails, maybe. It's probably not going to do anything. No. Cute. All that's left to do is to trim. And I'm just going to find a centimeter here and trim this post to 1 centimeter, just starting from the backing, the end here. And if anything needs to be straightened out, make it more direct for your ear. This is the time to do that. And look at this. Look at it. Come on now. A viewer was saying, I need something for the office. Come on. Adorable. Who doesn't need a cute little pair of studs? This is perfect. All right, now if you want to go further, you want to take the stud, you want to dress it up, you want to make it a little extra special, we're going to move on to jackets. For the first one, just keep your 20 gauge out. That makes it nice and simple and easy. You need about 5 or 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut 6 inches just to make sure that we have enough. See, I knew we were using these. Don't we always use these? We always use them. So we always get them out. We're going to make this one. Let me take this off so you can see it a little better. How about that, Carrie? I tell you what, these silicone backings are... If you got anything on with the silicone backing, it ain't going anywhere. All right, we are making this little first leaf on the side. And I started with this inner bend, and I used the 9mm bail just to get a nice smooth bend going. Just that. And then just do what kind of works for you, and then you use that as your template for the second one. So whatever you want to make it a little bigger, make it a little bigger, they're leaves. So even if they don't match, it doesn't matter because it's a natural organic shape and it won't matter. That's another thing I love about these. So I'm going to come in just measuring, just very rough measuring off of here and put my pliers where that bend is. And then just bend straight up. And now we got to, I know this sounds counterintuitive. We're going to squeeze it shut. Because when we do that, don't do that part, and we open it up, it just already starts to, you see how it starts making that shape? So we've got this going so far. Now, once we have this bend in, we want to lock it in by holding all this section in our pliers so that doesn't bend. We just want this part of the wire to bend. And I'm just pulling with the end of the wire to make it nice and a smooth arc. We're not going for a harsh bend, just nice and smooth. So it kind of meets with the top there. And just bring it all around, pulling from the end of this wire. It makes a nice smooth arc. What do we got going on here? Maybe just a tad more. We can always adjust things. And somewhere around here is where that other bend is going to be. Just a very rough estimate, and press that back up. So you got a little loop. And then we're going to do something that just seems really strange. We're going to press it closed. Precious. Grab that end so we kind of keep it pinched closed, and then open this back up. How's this opening going? Could come in just a little bit more. And again, this doesn't, they don't even have to, perfectly match because they're leaves. That's why this makes this a perfect beginner friendly, because it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to grab in here because I want to preserve all this that's right here and start this bend about in there and bringing it around into this meeting place right there. And so we've got this. Back to the bail pliers. I take the 2mm bail. We're going to make this little loop at the top. And just butt it up right against that arc there. Take this wire and just bring it on around. You can turn your piece just like you do with any other loop that you make. And then where the two meet, we're just going to trim. Make sure you're using the flush side of your pliers. And then just tuck everything down. Pull over your bench block and your nylon hammer. And we're going to hammer this out, make it nice and strong. And one little extra thing I do with the chasing hammer is just hammer out the ends of the leaves. Just adds a little something right to the ends. It's hardly noticeable, but you know. So we've got this first little jacket. Now, is it exactly like that one? No, and it doesn't matter. I think if you wore them on your ears like that, with the long petal coming down along your neck, but you can do the opposite, or you can have them going in the same direction. It's whatever, you know, totally beginner friendly and do what you want. I thought this would look really cute with these little turquoise beads. Just a very organic, nature-inspired little design here. Isn't that sweet? Super sweet. Now, talking about super sweet, we're going to make it these cherry jackets. My daughter fell in love with these. And she's a gold girl, so she's like, Mom, you have to get some gold filled so you can make some of these for me. So I guess I'll have to do that. She absolutely loved these. So let's make this little cherry jacket. Now, if you have 16 gauge, this is what I used for this. I just wanted a little something thicker because we're using, you know what? I didn't measure what these beads were. Hold on a second. These are 10 millimeter beads, and I just felt like it needed a little thicker gauge to go along with those bigger beads. I did make a variation with bent stems, so that is an option for you as well. We're not going to do the bent stem ones just because it takes a little more, and we've already done a lot in this, but that is an option. If you're a little more experienced and you think you can duplicate that with some bent stems, go ahead. I'm grabbing my 16 gauge. I'm going to pull out a length here, and as always, I wipe my wire down and get any kinks out. And for the cherry jacket, we are cutting 6 inches. You could do 7 inches if you're concerned. All right, starting with our ruler, we're going to measure off a 1.5 inches. And we're going to make a bend. What we're doing right now is we're making this bend right here. I'm going to pinch this closed a little bit. Going really slow and steady so I don't twist. But that is apt to happen. Just like it just did. But that's okay. I really don't want to pinch my finger. That's what I do all the time. That's what I did here. Just bringing that closed as much as I can. And then we're going to be using this long wire. Obviously, this short one is going to be one of the stems of the cherry. And we're just going to pull this open. Grab some chain nose pliers to hold that steady right in this little area right here. And pull this around. And we're starting to make this loop right here. With chain nose pliers, just reach in there and close that a little bit more. Oh, twisting on me. So you've got something like that. Now, right at that touching point where everything kind of seems to be coming together, we're going to place our pliers, and we're getting ready to make this bump up on this leaf here. And then just bend right back up again. I'm holding right here very firmly and bending upwards. I'm going to turn this around just to make it a little more work-friendly, easier for me. So I can take this and swing it around. We're pulling from the end of the wire again to make a nice soft arc for the top of that leaf. I have something like that. Is it kind of the same? It's going to be close enough, right? This is cherries. No two is alike. We're not worrying about it. We're just going to have some fun. I do want them kind of be similar. I mean, they're not going to be exactly, but they can be similar. So kind of just a general guide here using the first one. I'm going to take that area with my pliers. I'm going to turn it around just to give it a better angle here. And then we're going to bend back up. And we're going to start forming this leaf. Same deal with the first jacket. We're going to pinch this end closed. This is going to make that cute little tip of the leaf. You can also take your pliers like this if you want and bend it like that. If you want a little more turn out of your leaf, grab right in here with your pliers and then pull this out. This is going to open up that leaf shape. What do we got going on here? Oh, this is not the same at all, is it? I pinched that really close, didn't I? Maybe we can open it back up again. But again, I was not paying attention at all. Well, this is not exactly the same, is it, at all? But we're going to stick with it. This is a variation, okay? This is a variation. So with this first one, obviously, I didn't pinch it as closed as much. I think I'm still reeling off of the first jacket where we pinched them closed. It doesn't have to be as closed. Leave it open a little bit more for a look like that. But it's the same deal, right? These are cherries. They're not all the same, and I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter. See? Can't even tell that they're not exactly the same. All I see is cute. That they're not the same on your ears. I'm just grabbing in here so I maintain that leaf shape. Maybe pinch it closed just a little bit, make it a little smaller. And right when it's aiming back up into this whole little area right here, this is where I'm going to make this bend. We got to bring it back down around for the other stem of the next cherry. And it's as simple as grabbing right in there, holding all this firmly, and turning. Bring it all close together. You can even grab on the other side of that just to bring everything snug in so it's not all loose and open. It's kind of like a nice little jointed area right there. First, I'm going to put my beads on and hope I don't have to ream them. Okay. Let me put this other one on there, and then I can put this up against the first one and just get a general idea of how long the stems need to be. Something like that. And while the cherries are still up the stem a little bit, I'm going to put the ends right on the edge of the bench block. I'm going to get my chasing hammer out, but this time I'm going to use the ball because I want to get right on that spot, you know? And we're just going to make it a little thicker. And see how that works. Now, based on this size, the whole size of your beads, you might have to do more to hold your bead on. Keep hammering until it holds it on there. That's going to work great for my beads. Now, it's sticking out just a little bit here, so I will grab my file and I'm just going to take off a little bit of the end. Okay, I've got my bottoms smoothed out, and they're hidden pretty well in these beads. Now, I don't think it matches the first one very well. But I'm going to show you that as well, that it's not going to matter. You see how like the side, apparently I must have straightened that out on that one. I didn't remember doing that. But this is the area that's going to be covered up. Where'd that little earring go? This is going to be covered up behind your earlobe, so you're not even going to know. The main point is that this area is relatively similar, and the leaves are different. One's pointier than the other, but that doesn't matter. I promise you it doesn't matter, because once you get it on, no one can see both at the same time, really, unless they're looking straight on at your face. So, but because they're cherries, we're not doing something geometric that needs perfection. They're cherries. These were leaves. It makes it much more easier and beginner friendly to create something that doesn't need exact precision for it to be that way. And you run into that many times with earrings because you need to and they need to look the same. And these free you up to have a little fun with mixed matched shapes and lengths and to create something beautiful all at the same time. And remember, you have this option too, that you could bend your stems as well. Well, the blooper reel is going to be stacked today, so make sure you stay to the end of that. Boy, did I have a time this morning. I'm not sure what was going on, but it's been one of those mornings, but I was bound and determined. We're going to have a great time together and make something beautiful. And if you get a little extra time today, catch me on Facebook and Instagram. I share some other things there as well. And YouTube has updated how the channels work. Now the post tab has turned to community. And if you go to my channel homepage, there'll be a button. Where is it? I think it says visit community and visit the store. So the community has become a place where you can post what you've worked on. You can ask questions, and other people, not just me, can help you if you're having an issue or you have a question or something like that. And you can also share what you've been working on or your updates and your changes. Maybe you took these designs and you made something a little different with it. I love that. I would love to see it, and I know everybody else would too. So check out the updated community area on the channel, and I love to hang out with you there. Well, it's been another great time hanging out with you, making something beautiful, and I'm looking forward to next week for Tutorial Tuesday. What am I doing? I don't know. I don't know. Holy Toledo, what is going on? I don't know what's going on. Not even in the freaking shot. Get in there, please. Oh my gosh, my stomach is growling. Oh, yay. What am I doing? If my stomach doesn't stop growling, I'm telling you what. What else? What else do I need to say? I can't remember.